Coach. I wanted to ask you about Jim's hiring. It's kind of a two-part question. I wanted to ask you, first of all, his hiring, how much does that kind of take a weight off your shoulders in terms of this changing landscape, not having to worry about agents, not having to worry about recruiting, or just placing your focus more on recruiting, not worrying about dealing with agents. And secondly, wanted to ask you a little bit about his dealing with agents. He has that in his
Yeah.
past, and it's something that you really can benefit from his ability to do that.
Yeah. Um, yeah. So what everything you said is real. I think the biggest thing from a time management standpoint, that takes a load of time. Um, gives you back to again the things that you want to be as a head coach. Developing your team, doing the X's and the O's, uh, focusing on your culture, giving your coaches the resources they need to be successful. You know, so that took a lot of time, and you already have a very finite amount of time as it is, and so uh, not being stretched thin is and having a staff that's all they think about 24/7. And again, emotionally, there's certainly a business aspect to it, and but man, I care about people in this space, so you want to still be who you are and be able to make good business decisions. And so for me, I'm a very open and upfront and honest. You're going to get exactly how I feel. And so telling somebody, a 18, 19, 20-year old what their valuation are not easy discussions. And I remember, and I've always been this way, even as a coach. I remember the bad plays. And, and so I have a hard time with that. And when there hasn't been this blueprint or a model that or any type of comparables, this is a very difficult space to be in, and in a space that we had no experience, and every staff had the same issue. So I'm not complaining at all. You asked a question, and it took a lot of time and a lot of energy, and I wasn't the only one. Certainly, Curtis Lofton, and we tried to build the systems without understanding again what that should all look like, try to figure it out. So this gives you a lot of peace, and it's going to be able to steal some time back so that you can keep the main thing the main thing. And then what was your second?
Just his experience of dealing with
Yeah,
agents.
so yeah, those relationships, that goes a long way. And I would just say everything, as I said, everything changes every 2 hours. The conversations with agents this year, if you had all of us head coaches up here, they would tell you where those conversations were 2 years ago or 3 years ago are a lot different than where they were this year. And the depth and the amount of people that are agents today is a lot different. The qualifications are not always the same, and 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 sometimes you know again, my opinion is that you choose an agent so that they can give me the best situation possible. And so I got a great fit. Help me find a great fit. Don't chase the most money. Don't, that's just me. Where can I get the best bang for the buck too? And where I can get good value, but also get great opportunity for development and scheme fit and environment fit, things of that nature. And so figuring and navigating all that, will leave that to people that have done it, for their entire careers. And so you had a great sense of peace. Those are a couple of the many reasons why, this is such an exciting opportunity for us in bringing, Jim on.
My neighbor. Yeah, Brent, sort of following up on that, I wanted to ask about your role in recruiting and how much that evolves through this, whether it's getting back to some things that you used to be able to do,
Yeah.
or how much that changes sort of at all levels.
Yeah, I would think that it's the same as any college football coach has ever been in regards to, okay, he's the face of the program. He's casting vision for what the opportunity is going to look like for little Larry in his, the next 4 or 5 years of his life. There's a connection piece to that. And there's this holistic development piece. What's a day-to-day life going to be in this program, the culture and those types of things. So I don't think that you lose that personal touch. I think the efficiencies of the systems is what Jim and his staff are going to manage. And instead of starting with you're in the middle of the ocean, if you will, and casting a net out there, I think they can get us focused a little faster because of the efficiencies. We're doing ball, and man, they're doing recruiting 24/7, and then they're going to utilize the staff, and they're going to understand the footprint where it would. I do think that part is still. It's not the New England Patriots going to go to and have the same draft them. They have to choose to come to your place. So it's a little uneasy up here. But okay, so where's the footprint? And then where are what's the footprint for the SEC? And guess what? By the way, Oklahoma is the furthest school away from that footprint, and we have to do the most traveling. And if you look at the combine, that's where's the south east is that way, and so that's where the players are. But again, you don't want to. And again, there's deep-seated connections there too. I've said this a lot. I think you can win a national championship at Oklahoma within 7 to 9 hours of this campus, all the while knowing that, hey, if I need to go and get that quarterback from the east or the west coast or from Florida, wherever that is, or this offensive tackle, things of that nature, you want to be mindful of that. Oklahoma still has an amazing brand, and the doors from coast to coast will open, and we have got great connections with this new modernized staff. The vision for that too, a lot of relationships that are going to really bode well for us, and but making sure that we do a great job of being efficient. They'll utilize and lean on us, and then hey man, we hired you, we're paying you to also have your impact and influence, your DNA all over this. And you want to hire people that are smarter than you, that are more qualified than you. That's what you want to do. And then you want to empower them to go do work. But they'll help us get to a really efficient space, and the coaches will have an impact and influence on some of that, and choosing guys. All right, here's your 3 choices, or things of that nature. I'm being incredibly broad and general there, but and then they'll have to, the staff here will, and we've already built that in our systems. Curtis built that in our system to put a grading system in our own roster that'll also translate into a grading system, as you look at talent acquisition as well, things that we value from players that we're looking for in our systems at each position, what we're looking for, and then graded our own players. And that'll be different, we're not having to do that as much as in-house Jim and his staff will. They'll constantly be evaluating our current roster, and I've told these players, for almost 2 years now, things are changing, and y'all need to adapt. We're going to have to adapt, and your job is to create value for yourself every single day. You can't just blend in and not be on a list, and everything's going to be okay. That's not going to necessarily keep you here being a good guy anymore. And there's a lot of factors that go into it, and not everybody can be a developmental guy. And but we all value, and I know Jim and his staff, they'll value, developmental people too. And we want a roster that's stable, that's cohesive, that there's some consistency to it. And so I think, when you get a chance to visit with Jim and whoever else, is hired on that staff, that you'll see some type of a blend that'll be in that 70-30 high school to portal, 75-25, something that creates the foundation and the stability that you want. And we got to do our part in having success on the field that can continue to attract really good players out of high school and the portal as well. And then they'll do a good job in the evaluation process. But it'll be a collaboration, but we need to lean on, these guys and we did actually experience with that. As I go back here, with Jake Rosenberg, and the portal, we utilized an NFL staff, and they help manage it in the same structure basically that we'll have now. The coaches graded a bunch of players. The scouts graded players, and they put values on guys. And we had a budget that we dealt with, and then we picked the best guys based on the needs and the budget. And we got to an agreement, an alignment. Like, all right, let's go with that guy. Everybody in agreement. Let's go. And with no looking back, and everybody is excited and moving together. So we got that during a small sample size. And what I liked, and I know that coaches did too, it was just a very consistent, coherent approach, that we had structures in place and a lot of clarity, both on finances and again what each guy had real value prior to them ever even coming on campus.
Larry. Yeah, Brent. John Mateer, you've been around him 2 months now. What have you learned about his personality, his leadership, his demeanor, those kinds of things?
That's a great question. I think he's got great competitive maturity to him and competitive toughness. He's consistent. He likes the locker room. He's a football junkie, a gym rat. He's up at the facility nonstop. He's got one other person other than a coach that puts in more hours than him is Jaron Canick. And so I think it's his cross to bear to be in the facility more than Jaron Canick. And but no, I say that he's blended in and transitioned incredibly well. He's about that work. Players recognize his talent immediately, but he's incredibly competitive. He's got a great maturity about him, and he's a very process-driven, young guy.
George. Yeah, Brent, I wanted to ask you about your decision to call the defense this year.
Mm-hmm.
What went into that decision? Does that speak to just, I guess, how big of a year this is for you and in this program?
Yeah. Well, every year's big, and for me, I know I've said that. I don't think people really like that. Well, that's just coach speak. But I go back to my first year when Bill Snyder hired me on an interim basis. You ever been hired on an interim basis? Where basically said your job's on the line. I'm watching everything you do, and if your first screw up, there's no guarantee. And I'm also going to pay you pennies. All right. Well, that was my first time, and I was so thankful. But I've literally had that mindset my entire career. Every game's that way. Every day I show up, something's on the line. My job's on the line. I've had that for 30 years. I'm going to hire you. I'm going to pay you $30,000, and I can't promise anything that you'll last past the summer. All right. That's literally what I was told. And I said, oh, thank you, God, thank you. And I've had the same mindset. And I believe because I've had that same mindset that I don't go like this and everything's on the line. He's fighting for his job. I've been fighting for my job every year. Like somebody's holding me under the water trying to drown me. And that's been my mindset. That's been my attitude when I come to work every day. So nothing's changing for me. Do we need to be better? You're damn right. Does your mindset got to change? Nope. And why am I going to call the defense? Because I'm good at it. And I'm confident in it. And we've got a great staff. And if I'm going to be successful, if the players are going to be successful, if the product is going to be what we want it to be, it's going to be because of all of us. And somebody's got to lead it. I did that in 23. We made improvement. In some areas, not as much as we wanted, but so I know what that looks like in managing game day and in season, out of season, the meeting room, practice field, all those things. I know what that looks like. I have a good feel for that. And but many people do it at a really high level where they call an offense or call a defense and have a lot of success. No guarantees with anything, but it's a comfort zone for me. And last year when we went 6-7, I didn't call the defense, so that didn't work very well. Right. So look at a lot of different ways, and everybody has a narrative that they'll, write stories, and I'm not in control of that. But I like our roster, I like our players, I like our leadership that we have. I love our coaching staff as well, and how we'll work together. What's the best? Do you bring somebody in and start completely over with somebody that you don't know necessarily what the resume looks like, and you promote somebody from within? And I know how I am, again, it's been on the line my whole career. I don't have this when we get in that stadium, when they get in that stadium on game day and it's 3rd and 12 and you got to make the call, everything's quiet for me. It ain't loud. It ain't, oh my God, all this pressure. I ain't that way for me. That's a freaking safe place for me. It's as quiet as all get out. And that's just for whatever reason, that's how it's always been for me. And, but I can't necessarily say that had I promoted from within. We got some excellent coaches. And so I said, I don't want that, on any of those guys. I'm built for that. And so I don't say that in any kind of egotistical way, or I would do way better than anybody else. I just know that's a very comfortable place for me. And good or bad, I'm comfortable in that space. And so I know that, I feel really good about, what I've seen, and, hiring a really feel great about Coach Arbuckle and that side of the ball and what I've seen in a very short amount of time. And only since the moment we hired him, and he's been here and he's been in that environment every step of the way. The people that he's brought in, and combined with the coaches that he's charged to lead, and their willingness to plug in and adjust and adapt and be better than we've been in the past. The leadership, the confidence, the focus, the detail, the urgency, the sense of desperation, the enthusiasm, the energy, everything's in a great place. And so that gives me a lot of confidence, as well as having Doug Deacon back another year too. And he did an excellent job. I think when you look back at college football last year, I think, and I might have said this, but I think we're one of 3 teams in college football that had a defense that was top 10 efficiency, and a special teams that was top 15 efficiency. Only 3 teams in college football that had that. It was Ohio State, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma. They had offenses that, were, I can't even say they're top 30. I know that. And we had one that was historically bad. And so if we get a little better there, get a few more first downs, don't give the ball back, don't lead the world in defensive touchdowns. I think the statistics from this last year was, if you score a defensive touchdown, you have an 83% chance of winning the game. So flip that over and look at it, from our offense. If we give up a defensive touchdown, just give it to them, you got a 17% chance to win. That's what football stats tell you. So I know I'm a little bit off course here, but talking about just having a real piece about the direction, the leadership of the offense, and some of the things that I know if we can continue to improve on defense and get better in special teams, and then get dramatically better in the areas that I think, if we're healthy and we play above average at quarterback and take care of the football, then we'll have a chance to win every single game. And in a real challenging year and schedule, that's still the expectation and the standard that I feel, and again, we have a lot of work to do, but love the people that are in the right places, both on the roster and again, we'll see how spring goes, but with the staff as well.
Thanks, Brent.
Yep.
I know you're in time crunch, right?
Yeah.
Take a couple more.
I'll take another question.
Tom.
Brent, I know you went through the guys that are going to be out over the spring, but any update on how Jaden Gibson and Kendall Colby are coming along there?
Yeah, well, again, as of yesterday, both those guys had very limited non-contact positional work, and I think Jaden was working some routes on air, and might have had a small setback. We'll get final word back on that, so don't want to really say anything in that regard. Kendall has looked good, in again a limited capacity as well. Neither one of them went through mat drills, just to continue to do their rehab and things of that nature, but we'll see where that is.
Thank you, Coach.
All right,
Thanks.
appreciate it. Thank you.